Hey guys, so for today's movie review, I'm talking about the film Ender's Game by director Gavin Hood. Gavin Hood previously worked on X-Men Origins Wolverine, and this is kind of his follow-up film since he really hasn't made anything since X-Men Origins Wolverine. So Ender's Game, you guys, it's based off of a famous Orson Scott Card novel, which is a series of books, but this is only the first book in that series. Ender's Game has been talked about for years being turned into a film, and it wasn't until just recently where it finally got the green light and got actually made as a Hollywood production. Wolfgang Peterson from Air Force One was originally going to direct it at one point. I think someone even in the late '80s wanted to direct it at one point. Neither one fell. Both of them fell through. I think even Haley Joel Osment was originally going to play Ender at one point. But Gavin Hood finally was able to be the first and only director to actually have a green light for the Ender's Game movie, and so here we got it. So in Ender's Game, you guys, basically it follows a young boy named Ender Wiggin who is recruited for this space academy to help fight off this alien race that always seems to come back and always seems to want Earth. And when they talk about that in the film, they say that they always go this. In the book, they're called buggers, but they call them something else in this movie. But for the rest of the review, I'm going to just call them buggers because that's what they're called in the book. Because I actually read the book in high school way back in the day. So they always seem to want to go after Earth because they want the Earth's water supply. Because when you see their planet, it's really dry. You know, they don't really have a lot of hydration. So they're always after Earth's water for some reason. And so Mazer Rackham, who's played by Ben Kingsley in the film, he stopped this alien race a long time ago, back when they first attacked Earth. And now he's this general at this space academy that Ender got recruited to. So Ender, unlike his brother and sister, I guess his sister had a lot of emotional issues, and the brother got too physical. So Ender was kind of a nice blend of both, and that's something that the Space Academy wanted, or this battle school, or whatever they call it in the film. They liked that part of Ender, and that's what ultimately made him this really successful recruit for them compared to his brother and sister for the space for the battle school. So, Ender learns how to use the zero gravity room. He learns how to, fire weapons on a ship, how to command a ship, how to use the little computer monitors that you see them use for battles on the ship. So basically, Ender is kind of this special recruit that a lot of generals, specifically General Graf, played by Harrison Ford, and Major Anderson, played by Viola Davis, if I got those correctly. But so yeah, Viola Davis and Harrison Ford are kind of the lead captains of the ship throughout the film. And they always see something special in Ender. They think he has this very special ability to, be able to command this his space academy crew, whoever he gets assigned to help fight off the buggers. And so basically, throughout the rest of the film, they always have a lot of faith in Ender because he's not too violent, he's not too aggressive, he has good leadership skills, and he always has something that the other kids don't seem to have on this at this battle school. So it gets to the point where even Ender himself doesn't know what's a simulation and what's a real battle. And so when that comes around, the film starts to question, what is the right thing, what is the wrong thing, what's a fair battle, the film then has a good sense of right and wrong, and that's kind of where the rest of the film goes. And I can't go into any more detail than that, otherwise I'd be getting into spoiler territory. But the film does have a very interesting sense of right and wrong. So Ender's Game, you guys, I thought it was an okay film. Like I said, I read the book back in high school. And I actually remember really liking the book. I remember it being a pretty interesting sci-fi read. And so I went into this film with a lot of expectations, and with it being held off all these years of not being made, now it finally was made. I kind of went into this film with a lot of expectations. So for the positives and negatives, I think the film does have a good sense of CGI and special effects. Very good for a sci-fi film like this. I think they were pretty top notch in that department of this film. Harrison Ford and Haley Steinfeld. Haley Steinfeld played Petra, who gave Ender some help in this battle school throughout the film, and they kind of became close friends after a while. So Harrison Ford and Haley Steinfeld, to me, were really good in this. They were definitely the two performances that really stood out to me the most. So good job for the two of them. They both knocked it out of the park in this movie. I thought the film, like I was saying before when I was talking about the plot, I thought the film had an interesting approach on what's right and wrong in the battlefield. It's like, okay, so we can hurt these people, we can hurt these opponents, we can hurt this alien race, we can destroy this, we can destroy that. But when we destroy this, that's kind of where things start to say, okay, this is kind of pushing it too far, kind of thing. So I thought the film's approach on that was very good. In fact, the ending of the film very much centers around the whole right and wrong thing of, what is what can we destroy in a battle, or what can't we destroy, kind of a feeling. So, like I was saying before, very interesting approach on that. And when you see the film, the ending does have a very good wrap up with that idea. For the most part, most of the book was adapted correctly. With there's a little video game that interplays and throughout this movie that kind of reflects what he's thinking about and kind of the things that he worries about. That part of the film was very accurate, I felt. The whole salamander army, the thing with him and Bonzo. Bonzo was kind of this bully that was always picking on men in this battle school. Another thing too is, as Orson Scott Card is infamous for not being very nice to the gay community. And in this film, there's a scene. Well, actually, in the book, there was a scene that went way too overboard in that sense. And in the movie, they handled a shower scene that very appropriately in this movie. That for a PG-13 rating, I felt was handled appropriately for the most part. Basically, all the controversy that surrounded that scene in the book, I think they definitely took out. They definitely approached it the same way another sci-fi film would approach it if they had a scene like this. So for those who are worried about, Orson Scott Card's political beliefs, his beliefs on life in general that you don't quite agree with, I don't think his beliefs interfere with this movie. Um, I think they managed to just make the Ender's Game story into a movie and not make Orson Scott Card's beliefs into a movie. So in that regard, they also did a good job. Um, I also thought the film had an effective military school tone. If somebody talks back, they got to do push-ups. They have very little sleep because when they have to be sleep deprived. And Ben Kingsley even explains in the scene that the reason why they're always sleep deprived is because when you're in battle with these buggers, um, there isn't just a time in the battle where you can just go back to the academy and get some sleep. I mean, these battles can go on for hours and hours and hours on end if they need to be, and but anyway, I'm trying to make the point that this film does have a very good sense of what a space military school would be like if something like this were to exist. So very effective tone when it came to that. For the negatives, I do think Ben Kingsley was introduced a little bit late in the movie, just because they talk about his character a lot in this. He's very significant. He's a very significant character in the film, and they even talk about something briefly in this film that actually leads into the next Ender's Game book. So it kind of it just didn't feel right that he was so late into the story because he was such an important character of the story. I thought the film lacked epicness. It just didn't feel as epic as it could have been. There was basically two huge epic battle scenes, and then the rest of the film was either just set up for that, or it just was things that I just really didn't care about after a while. Um, Certain key book characters just kind of get thrown to the side after a while. Specifically, I would say Bean, for those who've read the book and know who Bean is, and I would say maybe Major Anderson and maybe Bonzo. Like they're in the movie. If you read the book, you're like, okay, yeah, that's what that character was like. But after a while, they just either disappear completely, or there's no wrap up at all to that character. Um, it's just kind of disappointing in that sense. So there was also some overacting in this. I think his name was Dap, like General Dap or something. Whoever played him, I thought was really, really like overreacted to some of the things that happened in this. It almost kind of got on my nerves after a while, to tell you the truth. Also, um, the film needed more sense of layering. This is probably one of my bigger complaints about the film. It just doesn't feel like a well layered film. It feels like they simplified the book as much as they could, and they left the complexity and the layering out of it. And that's really too bad, because Ender's Game is a rather complex story when you think about it. And the fact that they try to simplify it as much as they could, which is fine for a movie, I guess, but after a while, it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of layering to it, and that's really too bad, because Going into this movie, I was expecting more layering than what I got in the end. I thought more needed to happen in the battle school. Basically, all we got was a zero gravity room and some ship fight simulations. And I wanted it to be more than that because in the book, there's a lot more that went on in that battle school. And in the movie, they just kind of did those two things. And after a while, you just kind of begin to question, okay, what's more to the school than just the simulations and the zero gravity room? Because that's basically all the film showed when it came to that. And it just doesn't, like I said, it just doesn't match the complexity of the book because they skip past a lot of the other things that happen in this battle school. That goes back to another point I have about the movie is I think the film needed to be more complex. This film felt way too simplified. Even when it wasn't simplified, the dialogue just felt overstuffed and over scientific, and it just kind of got annoying after a while. The opening of this film I thought was very poor and very unengaging. It was definitely a very bad way to open a film, I felt. And I didn't get into the film until the film started to get more interesting. So unfortunately, the opening of this film isn't anything to be super impressed by. Um, there's also several unlikable characters in this film, almost to the point where you just don't know who to root for after a while. We like Ender, we like Petra, we like General Graf sometimes, but like there's just so many unlikable characters in this film. Even Mazer Rackham was not a very likable guy after a while. Bonzo really got on my nerves. I'm glad that that kid got hurt really bad at one point in the movie. Just so many unlikable characters in this movie. Just kind of like I said, they just don't know who to root for after a while, and it's just like I need somebody to like in order for me to be interested in what's going on here. But like I said, we had Ender and Petra and General Graf, but besides, and maybe Major Anderson every once in a while, but like, maybe Ender's sister and some of those really small characters, but just like, I just don't care. I mean, you just really don't care after a while. So Ender's Game, you guys, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. There are some things that are cool with this movie, but there's just a lot of things wrong with it. A lot of things wrong with it. In fact, I don't think this film lived up to expectations. In fact, it kind of underperformed in that sense. I thought. Um, so yeah, Ender's Game, you guys, it's okay. I would definitely recommend the book more so than the movie. If you really like the book, this film might be worth seeing at some point, maybe a rental or something. I don't think this is a film you need to rush out and see by any means. Like I said, if you like the book, this might be a future rental at best. If you didn't read the book or if you didn't like the book, this is definitely an avoid at all costs kind of movie. So Ender's Game, it's okay. Like I said, I would make sure you're a fan of the book before exploring into it. If not, you have every right to skip it otherwise.